milestone. It may be coinciding with our reunion. Direct reunion. So we're looking at 40 years of independence and 50 years of Midnight Groovers. So yes. Survival quickly.
I can give the line of the song. No,
okay, no, we hit him. Let's. I know why Troubles. It hit him. I know why Troubles quickly.
Alright, it goes like that. You can parler contre child abuse. Tous les jours sur radio. You can parler contre l'homme qui gagne à abuser tes enfants. Rien pas qu'à changer. Tous les jours c'est même butin. You dis non qu'à accepter l'argent pour
femme.
You dis non qu'à
accepter hush money.
Non, you know that. You dis non qu'à servir l'argent pour empêcher parents parler. L'homme qui a bon avantage à se identifier avec jeunes garçons. You can déchirer, you can papier.
I want to accept the hush money.
Hush money. Sylvain, what are you doing, man?
Hi there, I'm Matt. Good day, good morning to the listeners of Q95. Of course, we're here. I mean, Wadix called me, asked me to, he wants to sit up.
Okay.
All with Chubby first, all the artists, what Chubby is going to be, to give the first knock. So we're here this morning. And of course, Wadix is has asked me to bring Chubby here for him.
Okay.
And Chubby is here.
Chubby's live, man.
Chubby's live. And of course, like he told you, he wants to give a little preview of what is to come on the Friday night of the World Current.
Sounding good.
I really did not want to let off the cat from the bag. I really surprise the people, but then in as much as I'm here and he's at me, give it. So I just give a little thing. Matt, you would know that Midnight Groovers has been on stage, and most of the times, or if not the lifeline of Midnight Groovers, Co has been on keyboard and guitar. And sometimes it's a little bit trouble for the band, especially we have to wait for Co to change his tone and blah 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 on 2 keyboards, then on the guitar and this kind of stuff. So what we have done is we have change that whole thing. Co-master is only going to be on the guitar.
Right.
And so we have 2 keyboard players. Each of them probably might play with 2 keyboards each. So you have 4 keyboards. 2 keyboards there, 2 keyboards there. Instead of changing tones back and forth and this kind of thing. So you use the 2 keyboards and Co is only going to play his guitar. And we're going to have Chubby up front. You're going to have me as usual on the percussions. And we're going to have our backup vocals. But in that, what we're trying to do is to showcase what Granby has to offer. We know from the past in Bel Air and presently I can boast of we have 3 great singers, artists up in Granby. We have Chubby, we have Michael, and we have Asa Band, and we're still working on one of them. One has answered yes, has give the confirmation yes, but one is still thing. But we hope by the end of September, mid-October, that should work out. So we could have all 3 artists, great artists from Granby on that main stage. Let's make the Granby people happy.
Also including the greatest ballet dancer.
Yes, we're going to have a 5 minutes presentation of Adi and Tony on one side of the stage, and you know the great Dubik ballet dancer, Angalo, Chibisa, Poyomuma, Chibimumu, and they will do their thing. So we're going to have that couple on stage as well. And so we're going to have the great Abby beating the drums for them in the presentation of Midnight Groovers, where we would get the band to a complete stop for 5 minutes, and they would give that belly thing, and as soon as they start again, as soon as they end, then the band will resume in that performance, in that presentation. So we're hoping all this can work out. Irie and then Midnight Groovers.
Combination.
Yes, well, also we are looking where we would probably get them, the 3 artists, to sing one song, all 3 of them together. Like Chubby would probably come on stage and start off the first verse in Save Who. Michael would come back and reply to him or rebut to him, and then the other artist, the last artist, would come in with like a rap love end the song. So you have all 3 artists singing one song.
Wow.
Yes, I'm excited.
You know,
yes.
He's talking there, and you almost get
into passion. Yeah, man. And you know, it's a real exciting time. And like I said, you know, we have to do what we have to do to elevate what we have. We invited some of the greatest from out the world, but then we have some geniuses in Dominica. We have to really elevate them, especially now during the time when we celebrate our 30th anniversary of independence. It's a real critical time for us as we examine ourselves, reflect out our development, see where we can go. But before we do that, we have to know where we come from. And 48 years is a tremendous milestone in terms of continuously, relentlessly playing Kedah Slipson music, unlike what other pundits feel. But the brothers really need to be heralded. They need to really be cremated as one of the greatest ever, with their own style of Kedah Slipson music. Lots of zing, lots of cultural roots inculcated into the Kedah Slipson music. None other in the world can sound, and which reminds me of the year that they played in the UN with the compliments of Crispin Gregoire, and I mean fans and friends globally at the United Nations couldn't understand the lyrics, but then the pulsation of the whole music got them in awe, and it was really a marvelous sight.
Yes, so like Matt, before we go, like what I heard what it some time about right here. I was listening when he mentioned, I think Akon and YKF Jean is probably planning to do it all together.
Yes, we may see a surprise. Yes. Collaboration, yes, surprise.
So why not we
Dominicans,
why not the Granberrians? We have these three great artists from Granby. Why not come together and do it for the Granby people, for Dominicans, for everybody? Let them see what we have to offer. If Wycliffe and Akon can do it, why Chubby, Mikkel, and who else? I can't let go the other artists yet. Yes. Why not we can? Why can't we do it? Let's do it for the people. Not for you, not for Chubby, not for Mikkel, but for the people. Let's do it, man.
Okay. Final words, Troubles, nous allons faire ça pour le peuple là, nous allons faire peuple là préparer quoi yo. Nous allons faire ça pour yo man.
Ah ben nous allons dire pour tuer fort parce que nous allons venir Belfort, Midnight Groovers allons venir Belfort. Nous en nous manger tout bite, nous tirer ça pour tirer mettre ça nous pour mettre. Alors nous allons venir Belfort à 6 heures. Ouais c'est pour nous, c'est fan nous les plaisir et ben nous là avec que festival parce que beaucoup de temps là t'es pas invité à ça et bien c'est nous qui nous avancé ça et bien nous les fait great et nous les fait ça bon alors nous demandé aux autres qui font des Midnight Groovers pour nous venir bien fort nous les plaisir ça demandé nous qui base nous les bandits
ça quand ça aussi on va big up South City man.
Ah, mais ça aussi c'est pas ça.
Avant on quitter là on big up South City. Avant on quitter boys man.
South City nous là avec une fois ben donc à venir ici pour nous pour le festival là aussi night one ça c'est Friday night là.
Okay, thank you very much Smart. Final words quickly.
Alex, we have put a repertoire of songs together where we want to please the young, the not too old and the elderly.
Fam Go Tete in that.
Fam Go Tete will be there. And if you remember what Groovers had that CD of Get Ready.
Yes.
And the beat is
Mola.
Mola and Get Ready and Jump Up Fever.
Yeah.
So those songs is going to be part of the repertoire to please or to meet or to get the attention of the young persons with the Coco Sec and a few others and a few of the slow ones, Milk and Honey and Sevu and there's a song Chubby say Abayam Pela.
Wait. 48 years, a library, a treasury, a collection of golden hits.
We have mixed the repertoire to please everybody, not just the elderly.
The fans, okay. So Matt, once again, thank you very much. Thank you very much. The big station, Mr. G. Thank you for the collaboration, for the relationship and the partnership in this year's World Current Music Festival. May God bless you and may God bless Dominica. À la prochaine à tous, monsieur.
Thank you.
Yeah.
take one phone call and we move to the next segment. Hello.
Yes, good morning, my brother. I just want to say special good morning to the king. I don't call Chubby a genius. I call him the God of Cardas.
All right.
Enough respect to Chubby for the longevity, and I just want him to stay strong and keep doing his thing. And the young bands in Dominica, Matt, the only band I see that play Cardas, I will not like Chubby, but maintain Cardas is Serenade. The other young band, they want to play Zouk, Comp. I don't mind they do that. But they got to understand, Zouk and Compa is the offspring of Cardas, so they got to keep what we have alive. That's our own, you know what I'm saying? And enough respect to the things they're putting together with Mikel and Asa Banton. I just want Chubby and them to come to do an album, a song together, not an album, with he, Mikel, and Asa. So never that could do a big thing for Granby, boost up Granby more. So enough respect, and I'm waiting for my ticket, man. I'm going to get my ticket, my brother.
All right. We'll find out when we come back.
Incoming. I better make sure I'm ready. I have my batteries, flashlight, water, tuna, sardines, and of course, Cricks. My vital supplies. Plus, with this new packaging, Cricks stays fresher for longer. So now I'm prepared for anything.
Cricks Vital Supplies.
The thunderous applause, sizzling head-throbbing performances, hypnotic stage antics, lights and sounds, interaction, excitement. The 90th World Creole Music Festival, presented by the Government of Dominica and Discover Dominica Authority, October 28, 29 and 30, 2016 at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium, Rosa. On Sunday, October 30, 4:30 p.m., the Creole Cultural Invasion with singer, actor, record producer, Akon.
Nobody wanna see us together, but it don't matter, no.
Also, Haitian Compa S, Team Mickey. It gets better with international conscious reggae giant, a gentleman from Germany.
There is no faking, no heartbreaking. Like a volcano, this a true love is taking.
And Dominica's Princess of Song, Michael Henderson.
When will man learn to show love for his brother?
And the fast rising brave.
If it's Friday night and you're feeling alright,
and the Bouillon ambassador, Asa Banton. Nightly tickets 120 EC, season tickets 325 EC. Come savor the world's greatest Creole experience, Dominica's World Creole Music Festival, where people meet. Say Musicanu. This advert was brought to you with the kind compliments of Digicel, the extraordinary network.
In your team, Madam Razad, Silte Iskino, Yali Oti Doctor, they take 2 tablets every 6 hours. Yali po 6 tablets every 2 hours. Ambulance Kiwamasi, it got Chime. When she recovered Yodi from no one, you go to Quick Care Pharmacy Kote Halsbro. La yoke espiche tout bite bawa. Like we vela, idio, you that is Quick Care? Yodi yes, ma'am, Quick Care. Every type of personalized service. It tell me satisfy. Like we were Kylie Dimawi, I get dependable, knowledgeable, trustable, and supportable service. Ma we di yes, that is a big table. I gade avec di Howard Juju ka fe mwen. If you no honey, go and take your medicine. Yes, Quick Care Pharmacy Kote Halsbro. Service you can trust for all your prescription and over-the-counter drugs. He can, she can, they all can testify about the professionalism and benefits Kote Quick Care Pharmacy. Premier for an text say St. Thomas avec the medicine by Quick Care delight all my sickness. It evle di delete. Quick Care Pharmacy Kote Halsbro. Telephone 440-8600.
All right, Dominica. I know you're waiting for that story there, boy. Maybe we can call it the Laplin fiasco. We'll talk a little later about that. It's gone viral. But we're talking this morning to Hotelia And if you want the aviation expert there, Sam Raphael this morning. Mr. Raphael, it's been some time. How you doing?
Matt, good morning.
Bring the mic a little closer to you. I want to hear your every word this morning.
Goodness. Good morning, Matt, to you and to your audience. But first, I must say that you surprised me this morning with Chubby in the studio. I mean, that's one of my heroes, huh?
Yes.
And you throw off my game. So if my conversation isn't crystal clear, it's because that story Chubby gave was amazing, man. To hear the rationale, the storyline behind
Puyokoko,
and the history of the island. And so it's beautiful, and it all ties in because, we've flown on Hummingbird, we've flown Midnight Groovers a few times, and now, as you know, we're working on getting them back up to the VI, so it was really beautiful to have them. So that was a good start.
What's the story of the Hummingbird? That's just before we move on to
okay, so interestingly, some people don't realize that we're operating now, but we are running flights. We've been flying again since May of this year, and we fly from Dominica to the USVI, so passengers going to both St. Croix and St. Thomas. You even do some people connecting and going on to the States, especially those persons that have family living in the VI, and many of us do. They go and they spend a day or so with their family because of the issue of air access, which we'll talk about later. So we move both passengers and cargo. We've been moving some produce from Dominica, which is also helpful to the farmers, and coming down, we do the cargo. We have this ShopNet where people can sign up and they can send their, I don't want to do an ad on your program, we will talk about that later, but they can send, they can order stuff on the internet, and that's been doing very well. We have a few thousand people who've signed up and who order things on a regular basis, and we deliver it, we transship to the Virgin Islands. So Hummingbird has been operating again.
How many flights you do to the US behind?
We do, we fly 4 days a week, and we've been operating out of Douglas Charles since May, but we are transitioning back to Canefield Airport, so we expect to be there shortly. So persons seeking to go to the VI who do not know that Hummingbird is operating, and many of them, because the flights have been pretty full going up, so people who travel between the Virgin Islands and Dominica tend to know. But if you don't know and you need to travel, that's certainly an option.
All right, let's talk about access to Dominica. It seems that we have a lot of difficulty, Sam Raphael, getting into Dominica. What's the reality of that story?
Well, it is a challenge, and we can talk about some of the whys. If we get into the details, Matt, I do believe that they may be a little too tedious for the audience, because I'm a tourism airline owner, and so I can speak details on that, but I think I'd have to break it down to the audience and put it in simple terms.
Put in synopsis.
Yeah, it's very, very, a very challenging situation. People need to be able to move in and out of Dominica. Certainly the local people need to be able to move back and forth. Every week someone calls me, their mother's dying or someone's died or whatever, and they have a difficult time getting in and out of Dominica. Certainly our visitors, which is critical to our economy, we need to be able to move our people to Dominica, and the hoteliers are feeling it, because oftentimes we have people who are ready and willing to come to Dominica, but the access isn't there. And so that's an area of challenge, and maybe we can talk about, some of the factors that make it such a challenge for a situation like Dominica, and possibly some of the solutions. One of the things that you mentioned when you invited me to the program is this issue of a Dominica-based airline service, and I think that's certainly something that can be looked at, that should be considered, because somehow there needs to be solutions that's focused on Dominica. I own an airline, I own Hummingbird, but it's a U.S. Virgin Islands-based airline that happened to fly to Dominica and fly to St. Kitts and so on. But it's not really Dominica-centered. But what is needed, I think, is a service that is Dominica-centered that can connect people quickly. You don't want to spend a day trying to get, overnight trying to get here and overnight trying to get back. And that's where a connector can really serve a useful purpose. So this is something that I think we need to look. Aviation is very complicated. You people often think, well, you just buy an airplane and you put it on. You have so many regulations. You have international bodies. You have regional the body, and then you have local tourism, local aviation authorities on every island that you have to fly, that you have to conform to, in terms of licenses, in terms of regulations for the pilots, in terms of regulations for maintenance and so on. And it's very cumbersome and it takes a lot of time. So the idea of just starting something and it's something so simple doesn't work. Our economy is small, and so it's difficult to find aviation solutions. It's just not economically viable in most instances. Currently, we have less than 200 people traveling in and to Dominica on a daily basis. That's a very small economy. People should know some of these facts. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but that's one of the considerations in terms of the cost. We talk about the possibility of an international airport. We mentioned that I'm not opposed to an international airport at all if the government can find a way to build it in a way that's not going to break the bank, so to speak. But it'll cost literally $1 billion EC dollars to do that. That's something, and then you have to maintain it. That's the second consideration. But even if a decision was made to build an international airport today, it would take no less than 10 years before you can operate a plane in and out of that airport.
10 years?
10 years, at least 10 years. If you could recall, the most recent example is Argyle in St. Vincent. And in 2006, the decision was made. Earth started moving in 2008, and the airport still can be open now. And even when it opens, you have the issue of you need to get airlines to come in. It's not just building an airport and airlines will come in. If you only have 200 people coming to the destination, and they come from London, from Paris, New York, California, you just think about where people come from. It's a total of 200. And of that 200, the majority don't even come from outside of the region, because about 60% of our travelers come from within the Caribbean. So it's very, you can't fly an airplane half full. You can't fly and survive. You can maybe do it once or twice, but as an operator, I couldn't do it. And I don't know any operator that could. So we need to look at things like load factors. And whatever the solution is, it has to be something where we grow the air access from the situation we're in to where it's going to be viable for large carriers to operate whenever that airport is built. And this is something that we need to look at. It has to be a progressive growth approach, and we need to see how, if we're going to have a dedicated Dominica-based carrier, how do you actually do it in a way to make it
but
sustainable?
you're saying, Sam, okay, let's look at some of the numbers here. You're saying realistically, Dominica might not be able to afford an international airport. Here we have air access issues into Dominica. How do we resolve, if you will, Sam, this problem of access? We build a lot of hotels, so we need to bring people in. So how do we resolve the problem of access if we're saying, well, you know what, if we're looking at an international airport, it's 10, 15 years away, but we have problems now.
Correct. So I'm not suggesting that it will take 10 years, so we shouldn't do it. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Or I'm not suggesting that it'll cost $1 billion, so we shouldn't do it. These are just some facts, to factor into the equation. Ultimately, if I think a major airport will be built in Dominica one day, and the government is going to decide to build. But between now and when that airport opens, we need to grow the industry to make it viable for airlines to operate when that airport is built. And that's the point I'm trying to make. And you can build that industry to where you go from 200 a day to where you go to 1,000 a day by the time the airport is operational. And then it would make sense maybe to attract a once-a-day flight from New York, a flight from wherever. But you need to grow aviation now. And in order to do that, I hear people talk about, well, maybe almost like we have enough hotel rooms, which is really, I think as someone in tourism, it's insane. Because as we speak now, we have between 400 and 500 certified hotel rooms on this island. As an example, St. Lucia have 4,000 plus, and they have 700 more under construction. So you're talking about St. Lucia having 10 times the size, the numbers that we have. And we need these hotel rooms. We need to grow the tourism sector to make it viable for airlines to have the load factors to operate, to come to Dominica. Else it's not going to happen.
How does that happen?
Well, it has to happen in tandem, Right now we need to increase the ability of our visitors to be able to come into Dominica. So we need to deal with airline from where we're at that can move. Let me just put hypothetically. Let's say that we have a situation where, and this, by the way, is an example that's used elsewhere. I'll pick St. Martin, the relationship between St. Martin and St. Bart's, and St. Martin and Anguilla. St. Bart's is a French island off St. Martin, a very high-end island, tourism very expensive, but it doesn't have an airport where major planes can come in. It's much smaller than Keenfield. So persons fly into St. Martin from KLM, Air France, all over the US, and they take a hop on one of these islanders and they buzz. If you're in St. Martin Airport, every 15 minutes you see them take off. It's like a little taxi that take you to your destination, okay? And that's an illustration. So they have been able to build a viable tourism industry by having a quick shuttle. And for the high-end passengers, the high-end visitors going to St. Martin, they don't mind, because what they don't want to do is to waste their time sitting in an airport. So if the minute they land, they have a shuttle that can take them to St. Bart's, then that works for them. So you can build your industry there. In Anguilla, it's a little different because they take a ferry to Anguilla. So from the same St. Martin airport, they can take the taxi or the shuttle, go down to the dock, and they take a 20-minute ferry to Anguilla, and it goes back and forth. So literally within an hour and a half from the time you land in St. Martin, you can be in your hotel, Capjuluca, wherever you are, in Anguilla. And so both of those islands have been able to use a shuttle system to build their tourism. And all I'm suggesting, I'm not suggesting that, I'm not even dealing with the issue of the international airport to say whether the government should jump on it now or they shouldn't. I'm just saying right now we have a situation that's critical, and we need to look at a solution that is appropriate to our where we are now. And to grow our tourism industry, we need to have a shuttle that has a central point. Whether we choose St. Martin, which I think has great flights, but as someone in aviation, it's about air miles. It's an hour flight away. It may be a little ways away. Antigua is half the distance. It's half an hour flight. Guadeloupe is even closer, but Guadeloupe is French, and you may have to deal with the whole issue of the French government and so on. So that may be more complicated. But if you selected Antigua or St. Lucia, is also half a mile. To have a shuttle that can go 10 times a day between here and St. Lucia, let's just say here and there. 10 times a day you go back and forth. So someone can land in here and there and know that without spending the night out, that they can come to Dominica and they can jump on a shuttle and they can, so it now becomes our gateway, it becomes our hub. And I think a solution like that with a Dominica-based service that shuttles between those 2 points is something viable. And then we grow that. And as we grow that, we begin to now develop, as we develop our hotels, we can now drive all our traffic, and then it would end up being a reduction in the cost too, because you now have the fixed costs of the stations, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on that because it's already there, and you can reduce the price of the flights and maybe even make an arrangement with the government there, because you're also building flights. So they're now seeing Dominica as an extension sort of their hub service. So I think it's an approach like this may be appropriate for Dominica as a suggestion of someone in the aviation business. Before I was in aviation, I was a business person. And you almost think all businesses operate on the same principles, where they do in some instances. Aviation is a lot different and a lot more complicated. And I think it's something that, maybe we need to step back and not come up with any prejudices towards what we think should happen, and maybe look at it with a blank canvas, and maybe therein we can find some solutions. So when you made that suggestion, and it's something that I've heard talked about as someone in the industry, I think that this is something that Dominica may want to consider as a short to medium term strategy, the longer term strategy being the international airport with direct flights whenever that is.
Let's bring in the whole discussion then, Sam, of a local airline. We say, just for discussion's sake, Air Dominica. Is that a possibility right now?
I think it's
to resolve our air access issues?
I think it's a possibility. It's not a snap your finger and it happens possibility. It would take a lot of work. There's a reason why you have so many successful business people in the Caribbean and not many of them getting in aviation, because it's very complicated. But it is certainly something that's worth looking at. And I think Dominica has an acute situation, and we definitely need, whether you call it Air Dominica or Air Roseau, whatever you call it, we definitely need a service that will shuttle people between Dominica and a point, wherever it is, that we can drive traffic to, and we can end up building. The tourism sector needs it. We all need that service. I tell you, with my experience at Jungle Bay for 10 years, we did very well. We had high occupancy for some time, up until we ended up closing last year. But about half of the persons that contacted us and found that it was too difficult to get to Dominica and had to make decisions to go elsewhere. American visitors, they spend about a week on the vacation. Europeans spend a little longer, maybe 10 days, 14 days, and people from the Caribbean maybe spend 3-4 days. You don't want to have not even a week where you spend one night someplace else before you get to your island, and then you have to spend another night on the way out, so you just find someplace else. So this air access issue, I think we can really ramp up our tourism numbers. You need 3 things to be successful in tourism. One, you need to have a good product where people feel that there's good value in, and I think we need to keep working on that. The second thing, you need to have distribution, recognition in the marketplace, which is marketing or public relations, that people know that you're there. If they don't know and you have a good product, they don't know. So that's the second component. And the third part is they need to be able to get to your shop. They need to be able to get to your hotel. So the air access works in conjunction with the marketing, works in conjunction with improving our products here and increasing our room numbers, because if we don't have the room numbers, people don't have a place to stay. So this suggestion that we almost need to stop building hotel rooms until we can figure this air access thing out, it really doesn't make sense. And I just have to try to dispel that myth today.
All right. Thank you very much. Sam, you just mentioned a few minutes ago the issue of cost. People find coming to Dominica may be a little expensive. How do we resolve the issue of cost? Because you can buy a ticket to Antigua from New York for $200, but then the additional cost is almost like the $200 going back to New York. So how do we resolve problems like that?
I visited my son last month, and I spent $100 and something from St. Croix, heading into Orlando, and then I operate an airline here, and I know what the cost of operating an airline in the Caribbean. There are 2 things I think that affect that cost. One is the environment in which we operate is very expensive. The salt is very damaging to equipment, and we spend a lot of money on maintenance that you probably wouldn't spend elsewhere. And then the second thing is the numbers. We don't have the aggregate numbers to create the economies of scale. We need more numbers, and the more numbers you get, the lower the cost. So if you have an airplane and it costs you $1,000 to operate that flight from here to wherever you're going, and you have half the airplane full, then they're going to have to spend twice as much as if you had 100% occupancy in the airplane. It's called a load factor. So as long as...
But I'm happy you made that point. Let's look at the load factor, Sam. If you, for example, charged cheaper, won't your planes be filled? I'm asking the question. I mean, it's like buying a T-shirt for $10 at the Chinese store and going to another store in Roseau, and you buy it for $40. But
if it's
the economics is more numbers. The less you get, the more you pay, or the opposite.
If it's free, they will flood your service. If it's free,
so if it's cheaper, they might flood your service.
I'm just saying,
well.
if it's free, but you can't operate if it's free. There's a point where you have to. Your operational costs exist at a certain point. So you have to meet that. You have to pay for your fuel, you have to pay for the maintenance of the aircraft, you have to pay for your crew. So there are some basic costs that you can't escape. So those are fixed. So if that airplane, if you keep working it and you keep getting good numbers, you have those fixed costs, your price can come down. But if you don't have a lot of movement, a lot of numbers, the plane you take to fly from New Jersey to wherever, you have how many? 400 people, 300 people in that one airplane? I can operate that pretty cheaply, and so can you. But if you've got where it's a small airplane, you still have to pay your captain. But then you can't operate a small plane on that route, a larger plane on that route, because it would even be worse. Then you end up with a problem of economies of scale. And the major problem here, in terms of our economy, is that it's too small. And as we grow our economy, the costs are going to come down. If we had a shuttle between here and St. Lucia, it would bring down that cost significantly if it flew 10 times a day. Because you're paying that same person at that counter, you're paying that same person station, the same person fuel in the airplane, the same person loading, and so you drive the cost down. But if it's only one flight you're operating a day, you still have to pay all those people. We have Air Sunshine coming in, they do one flight a day. Hummingbird does one flight a day. Seaborn does one flight a day, you know? And so it becomes very expensive for us. If I was doing 10 flights a day and I had my same station people, then it would end up costing more. So those are, it's all a matter of the numbers. If the numbers are higher, the cost will be less. If the numbers are higher in the airplane, the cost is certainly less. If the number of flights are more, the cost will be less also.
Well, I'm hearing a fraction of that, or the most of the cost on that ticket, maybe taxes. Is that true?
Taxes are significant, and this is something, again, that the governments can control. The taxes do not represent a majority of the ticket costs. Not in my experience.
Not in the region.
The routes we operate in and out of, the taxes do not represent the majority of the ticket costs.
A significant percentage?
Is a percentage. If you want to take a tax of airport maintenance if you want to consider that as a tax, I don't know if I would consider it as a tax, but let's say that's a factor. Does the government subsidize, or because they have to pay for that facility? If you build a facility for $1 billion and you've got one plane or two planes coming in a day, you have to pay for that. You have to pay for the maintenance of that. You may end up having to pay a lot of money as a tax. The government has a balance sheet too. So as we talk about solutions, we need to look at things that are economic for the government as well as for the operators. So, but in terms of taxes, I wouldn't say, Matt, that the taxes...
You wouldn't blame the taxes?
I wouldn't blame the taxes. Of course, they should be reduced as an operator. The more savings the government can pass on to an operator is the more savings they can pass on to the consumer. But I don't think right now, I do not think the problem that most people have is price. It's just you just can't get a reliable flight to get to where you want to get, and that's the first basic
but
thing.
I'm hearing from Sam. I mean, and you just spoke about you spent $100 and something from St. Croix to Florida. Mm-hmm. I mean, intra-Caribbean travel seems so. You used to pay, for example, $250 to go to Antigua or St. Lucia, $300. I mean, we're talking about $700, $800, $900 just to fly. 30 minutes, so we say.
Matt, I can tell you, in terms of operating the aircraft and the basic service, if you had a shuttle between Dominica and Antigua that flew 10 times a day, you wouldn't be paying $800, $900. It would probably be closer to the $250, $300 price. If you're just talking about if the governments were cooperating and said, well, let us keep the price as low as possible because we are trying to attract traffic either in Antigua or in St. Lucia.
But you don't think that is happening? Like you did speak about if the governments were cooperating.
I do not know the basis of the prices of other airlines. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you in terms of air miles that if you had a situation where you had a good load factor between Dominica and St. Lucia, a half an hour, you can reasonably charge $300 EC as the operating cost of that flight if you get good numbers. And so I think in terms of a solution, that this is where we should be, this is what we should be aiming for, that we have a seamless, direct, continuous operation where people can have several options to travel, so you don't have to sit at the airport when your flight gets in forever, or you don't have to overnight. You can just take the shuttle and come over. And if we can push the international flights to that, then you would have the aggregate of the numbers. We all know, well, we're taking JetBlue or we're taking whatever from the US to here and or we're taking so-and-so, British Airways or Virgin, whatever, to St. Lucia, and we will take Air Dominica and hop to. So we then now begin to support this service. And I think if we had such a service, then we would see a reduction, significant reduction. Then the hotels would be able to maybe sell packages more affordably. You'd have more conversions when people inquire. You could easily point them in that direction. So I think it would all boost the tourism sector and easy access for local people to travel in and out.
Why can't we? Why don't we see this happening with the regional airline, Liat?
I don't really. You're pushing me to comment on Liat, and I'm an operator, and I don't wish to get into. I can say, as an operator, to be honest with you, I understand some of the challenges that Liat face. So now I'm reluctant to throw stones at Liat. I'm not gonna sit there and do that because I know it's difficult. It's easy to sit and say, but I know the cost, the issues they have with pilots, the issue they have with the maintenance crews. Sometimes, if I can only hear this criticism, the communication could improve. And I even tell my Hummingbird people, I've been a traveler and I've been standing at the airport and trying to figure out what's going on and no one's communicating. That to me, I think, can be improved. So oftentimes there's a communication, but they have issues of economics. Liat really is a.
But you understand, without criticizing some, you understand why Liat may have to have dropped the number of flights coming in. Mm-hmm. You understand that? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you don't drop flights because you're making money doing something, do you? So there are some issues with the economics of it. And instead of pointing fingers at Liat, I would think that the energies would be better spent if we focus on a solution, man. And which is what I'm trying to suggest and what your initial suggestion was in terms of focusing on Dominica. So Liat is an essential service. Even if you had a Dominica airline, you would still need Liat. Because when you need to go to Trinidad or Guyana, how do you get there? When you need to go to some place. So Liat forms a significant social service in the Caribbean. And I think people need. I fly a profitable route. And if I'm not profitable on the route, I'm not going to fly that. Liat, they fly social routes. So, they connect, they have to connect. And it's almost like a government agency. So I think there's a different standard that we have to hold them to. Yes, could they be more efficient? We could all be more efficient and should be more efficient. But I don't believe, knowing what I know, I wouldn't take shots at them.
Do we need another regional airline?
I don't know, Matt.
Would that solve the problems?
I think if it's run the same way with the same conditions as Liat, you'd have the same thing. We had a situation where we've had attempts at that with Caribbean Sun and persons.
Caribbean Star as well.
Caribbean Star, and persons could look at those models. But that's a Caribbean-wide challenge. I'm primarily interested in just a Dominica solution to bring people in and out of Dominica at the most affordable price, the quickest way, so that I'm rebuilding my hotel, as you know, so that when that's built, we can all, including, I'm not going to have just Hummingbird service for Jungle Bay guests. It's a service for all Dominica visitors. So I'm in the same boat as everyone, even though I'm in the aviation business. So I would be really interested to see the evolution of that. Someone asked me at one point if I would be interested in taking on this Air Dominica, and I can't do it. I have too much on my plate. I've got Hummingbird to deal with. I've got Jungle Bay to deal with, but it's something that I think the right person with the right capacity coming in with maybe resources, they would have to collaborate with the government because they'd need a lot of government support to make it work and choosing the right airline. But I think that this is a direction that we should move into as part of our air access development strategy. It's the short to medium term steps that we should take as we grow the economy.
So a ferry service, Sam, will not resolve the problem?
A ferry service probably wouldn't resolve the problem for Dominica because it is too far. Persons take the ferry now. We have about 100 to 110,000 persons that come to Dominica every year. About 30,000 of those are Dominican residents that go out and come back. About 35,000 of those travel by ferry, so maybe about 70,000, 60-something thousand travel by air. And there's a reason why we don't have more traveling by the ferry, and it's because it's too long. The average person does not want to be on the water for more than an hour on the ferry. I've been on the ferry with you. We've talked about that. When you have time, and if you want to save that money, you're going to take that ferry. But other than that, if you can do otherwise, sometimes especially that distance, if it's close by, you don't have a problem just jumping on the ferry and going. But for Dominica tourism, I think the ferry serves as a good supplement, the several, but I don't think it can be the primary source of getting people in and out of Dominica.
All right, Dominica, we're taking a break. We're talking air access, aviation issues here on the Hot Seat with Sam Raphael. We're coming back.
Are you thinking of developing your skills or considering a career change? Then the National Cooperative Credit Union Learn While You Earn loan is designed just for you. Get qualified with a Learn While You Earn loan and enjoy an affordable monthly payment, very special terms, and free loan protection coverage. Stay on the job and invest in your education. NCCU wants to help you succeed. So visit a branch and apply for the unique Learn While You Earn loan and study the smart way. Terms and conditions apply.
All are we, I want big family, NCCU. All are we, I want big family. We are your NCCU, we got so much things for you, making all your dreams them come true. Owned by you, international debit card, we got your money transfer and all the looks you prefer. Alright, fixed deposits too. If you're coming from the north, big high, we serve their boy. If you're coming from the south, we serve them too. If you're coming from the east, we serve their boy. If you're coming from the west, Rosso, NCCU, all our National Cooperative Credit Union, NCCU. Visit us at www.nccudominica.com. Also like us on Facebook, NCCU.
The thunderous applause, sizzling head-throbbing performances, hypnotic stage antics, lights and sounds, interaction, excitement. The 90th World Creole Music Festival presented by the Government of Dominica and Discover Dominica Authority, October 28, 29 and 30, 2016 at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium, Rosa. On Sunday, October 30, 4:30 p.m., the Creole Cultural Invasion with singer, actor, record producer, Akon.
Nobody wanna see us together, but it don't matter, no.
Also, Haitian Compa S, Team Mickey. It gets better with international conscious reggae giant, the Gentleman from Germany.
There is no faking, no heartbreaking. Like a volcano, this a true love is taking.
And Dominica's Princess of Song, Michael Henderson.
When will man learn to show love for his brother?
And the fast rising brave.
If it's Friday night and you're feeling alright, say.
And the Bouillon ambassador, Esha Banton.
Control your woman.
Nightly tickets 120 EC, season tickets 325 EC. Come savor the world's greatest Creole experience at Dominica's World Creole Music Festival, where people meet. Say Musicanou. This advert was brought to you with the kind compliments of Digicel, the extraordinary network.
Roast breadfruit, roast breadfruit, fried breadfruit. I must just swap the breadfruit them round there. Cool kid, them some breadfruit make you covered, but them have a free of it catch over here. Escobar, I say I eat. want to get your breadfruit?
Dominica, get ready, it's coming, reserve the date. Come to Marigot from November 3rd to 4th, 2016 for breadfruit and something breakfast fest. It's on, it's 12 hours of festing. Be there, Marigot Dominica, breadfruit and something breakfast fest. It's on, be there. This ad is sponsored by Country Style Bread and Q95 FM Radio.
You want breadfruit? Just tell me if you want breadfruit. You want breadfruit? Catch it down to them called breadfruit. Watch it down, roast or fry, roast or fry. Catch it down, roast or fry, roast or fry, breadfruit. You want breadfruit? Tell me if you want roast breadfruit.
Flow Creole in the Park, the ultimate Creole experience, October 24th to the 27th, 2016, Botanical Gardens.
This is how we flow.
Time to sleep, darling.
Dad, are there any monsters under the bed?
Not while I'm here. You're safe and sound.
Feeling cared for, protected, and secure. It's a feeling that every Massey United Insurance customer knows. After all, they're in the same safe hands, protected by our financial strength, stability, and experience, and cared for by our team. Now, all our customers are even more secure with the sound strength of Massey. It's a great feeling. Massey United Insurance. To learn more, contact our agents, JB Charles and Company Limited at 448-2876, CAM Dupini Inc. at 448-3012, and LA Dupini and Company Limited at 448-2310.
I know my telephones are just going crazy now. Crazy. So just before we go to the phone calls, the issue of taxes, people are still asking questions about that. Can we do better than that?
Yeah, I want to clarify. I didn't mean to diminish the issue of taxes in the region because, again, if a government is seeking to build its traffic, you want to keep the taxes as low as possible. But, so I think taxes is an important factor in that. So I don't wish to diminish this. All I was saying is that there are many other factors, and one, I think, is the load factor that we can control, and the volume is something that we need to ramp up. Certainly the taxes is something that factors into that. But also, if a government has to maintain the facilities, somehow the money either has to come from the central fund, or it's going to come from a tax on the ticket. And so recognizing the government has a balance sheet also, there needs to be some kind of nuanced approach to that. But the taxes should be, the government has to realize that the taxes, it's important to keep it at a reasonable price because it's passed on to the consumer.
All right, let's take our first phone call this morning to Sam Raphael here. Hello, talk to me.
Morning, Matt. Good morning.
Morning to you, yes.
Matt, I'm glad you've raised this issue on the program today because what I want to highlight to you is something that I thought of last week as something that maybe could be utilized by people like WADIX as a suggestion to the government to assist with the World Creole Music Festival period. And I'd just like Mr. Raphael to give his comments on that. Around Carnival time, I came down to Dominica and I was lucky to have caught a promotion that was taking place by an airline called Norwegian. That is a European airline that flies now into the U.S. and they decided to have this promotion where they were flying to and from New York, to and from Guadeloupe and Martinique. And what a lot of us Dominicans did at Carnival time was we took advantage of their low fares, flew into Guadeloupe and Martinique, but unfortunately had to overnight there and then catch the ferry the following day and do the same thing going back. So my feeling is, I met one guy who went from New York to Martinique and paid $45 one way. He paid $90 return. So my feeling is it might be an opportunity for the government of Dominica or for whoever else is responsible for that to approach airlines such as Norwegian and in collaboration with the French government, coordinate something whereby they can get these low fares and everybody would benefit, because Dominicans as well as French people flying to and from the U.S. can use these airlines. The French government would get the benefit of more tourism, even if it's for one night coming through. And Dominicans would also get the benefit of these lower fares going to Guadeloupe or Martinique overnight for one night, and the ferry as well would get the benefit of more passengers. So I'm just wondering what Mr. Raphael feels about that. Also, you could add in the shuttle service. You could have one start up from Guadeloupe or Martinique, shuttling people to and from Dominica. So I just want his
thoughts on that. Sam, you want to?
I think that's a brilliant contribution. One of the problems that we face in Dominica is we are event driven. We have Creole Festival, people come down for Carnival, they want to come down for Independence. Everyone wants to come at the same time, and that's a problem. It's not spread out. As an aviation company, you want to know you have backhaul traffic. You want to have traffic both ways, because that keeps the cost down. If you can find, as you found, good flights, and one of the things we need to have is an inventory, and maybe the promoters of events like Creole Festival, the hotels and so on, could get into identifying what this gentleman has done. He's done it on his own, but we can go out there and try to identify the existing flights that are coming in and direct our potential guests to those flights. That way they could take those flights and realize savings. If we are to rely on charters coming in, it would be very expensive. Every year I have, for the past 2 years that we've been, I have groups of persons in the Virgin Islands that I cannot charter, because they want to pay the same flight, the same price coming down, and I have an empty plane to fly back. You want to come for the Creole Festival on Friday. You've got 10 groups that want to come down. But do I fly back with an empty plane, and do I come back with an empty plane on Monday to get you and fly back? So I'm doing 4 flights, 4 legs, and they want to pay for 2. They want to pay for their flight going down and their flight going up. And somebody has to pay for it, and which is what we speak about. So there has to be backlog. So it's very difficult for airlines to add flights for things like festivals or events, because you've got a dead leg coming back. And so if you can find the existing flights that's going to be operating close by, create some kind of inventory. Now that we have, access to the internet, this information should be shared virally. You could go to this place, go, like he said, Norwegian. I'm going on Norwegian to Denmark in November from the Virgin Islands because they have flights coming down. The same way I've learned about that, I can get a very cheap flight going up because they have a dead leg virtually going up. So if you can find within those times from general areas where you can hub and fly into the region, that's one thing. And then, of course, if you're coming for the festival, it's an inconvenience to spend the night in Martinique. And so, but when you figure the cost and so on, maybe it's well worth it. And maybe then if you have the numbers, ferry operation is much less expensive than airplanes. So maybe if you've got significant persons, you can push the ferries for additional, they do additional runs during the festival time. But the gentleman, that was a good contribution, I think, on your part, and this is something that we need to share information on.
Thank you very much. Next phone call.
Yes, good morning, Matt.
Morning to you, sir.
And good morning to Mr. Raphael.
Yes.
Matt, just sometime last year, latter part of the year, I had a discussion with a good friend of mine who is now the director of maintenance at Liat. And we had a discussion. I asked him, well, why is that all that problem with respect to scheduling? And so he said it's just more than that, with respect to plane. In fact, Dominica is one of the best markets, that he said, for them, with respect to operating. But they have issues too with respect to coming on the tarmac, have to delay, wait for when one plane coming in, and a lot of issues, not just one factor, but it surrounds many factors. And so it's not just about a plane load. And I'm hearing Mr. Sam Raphael talking, which is good. He has a lot of good ideas, I think. But shuttling from one destination to another, it's not just based on the plane loading. All these factors with respect to delaying time, we're coming in, and so you have factors, because shuttling will not just solve the problem. And I'm hearing him talking about, with respect to cost, you asked a very good question. Right now, for travel lovers in the region, you have people right now who travel on Liat, and the prices are exorbitant. And here's the joke. The price of fuel is really relatively down So why can't we get a cut with respect to flights? And just imagine tomorrow that you have fuel prices going up. They're going to add it, although we agree that there's problem, and they can use the time now to cushion some of their loss and their costs that they have, because, we're not putting pressure on them. But imagine tomorrow the fuel prices going to go up. Then they're going to justify that, okay, go up, then we have to go. Well, we have not experienced a cut in price for a long time. And he just made a statement with respect to $1 billion. It will take $1 billion now to build the international airport. Matt, 15 years ago, when this was the talk about hot topic, it would have the cost. So more we talk, 4 years later down in the future, we're going to talk about 1.5 million, So let us do it now and finish with that. More we delay on that, we go into, because look at Antigua. It looks like it's our priorities with respect to what we want as a country. Look at Antigua. They had an airport, an old airport. Look, they have a new one. It's based on their priorities, the government priorities. And I don't understand this into politics. It's serious, because we are suffering because of that, your access business. And Dominica is really suffering. And to me, Dominica is a new destination. People want to come to Dominica. But as to how to come to Dominica, and I don't know why we just cannot get it right. So many economists, so many ideas, so many people that we send and study. We just cannot get it right. So all these things are good, but we just cannot wait. We have to, they are more to what we're just talking about, But good program.
Thank you very much. I'm hearing from, of course, a source close to the government who said that government has already spoken to Norwegian Airlines, and they have begun discussions on Air Antilles and Wimia to have same-day flights that match Norwegian schedule. So that's a good move right there, huh?
Yeah, so I mean, again, if the government is getting in the game and they can work something out with Guadeloupe and Martinique, that's even half the cost. Because the distance between Martinique and Guadeloupe and Dominica is half that of Antigua and St. Lucia. So if there is some input, and apparently, based on what you're saying, that there's already some intervention, I'm not surprised, because, again, whether it's tourism or whether it's just Dominicans needing to move about, this is something that we hear about every day. So I would think that the government definitely has a strong interest in finding a solution. And so, again, we're going back to the point. I understand the caller's frustration. Look, I wish it were not so, but it would cost $1 billion to build this airport. I wish it were not so, but if we decide that we are going to start to build this airport this year, it will take 10 plus years to build it. What are we going to do in between? We can sit here and you and I can have a conversation, and we can beat up on Liat morning, noon, and night. But does that help us find a solution? I think whenever we have to rely on an external solution, we're going to have problems. We need to start to solve our problems, and we need a Dominica-based solution. And which is why I think it's not something I have a vested interest in terms of the Dominica airline, but I really think as someone that's in tourism and someone that has an investment, even in aviation, that it is something that would bring some kind of relief and to the industry.
So Sam, am I hearing you saying that the international airport may be ideal but not realistic at this time?
I think you're putting words in my mouth.
I'm just asking. I'm asking the
question. I'm not running from what I'm saying. I'm saying if the government can find a way to build an international airport and not break the bank, I applaud them. As the gentleman said, costs are going up every day. If they can find a way to do it, then go ahead and do it. But even if they decide to find a way, we have to deal with from now until that airport is built, and not only that, until we have planes that are coming in the airport, because Argyle Airport is being completed sometime soon, and there hasn't been a single commitment of a carrier coming into that airport. So, putting a long runway and a terminal is not the solution to air access. We have to find a way to create an environment where there are flights that are going to be coming in, and we need to start from where we are now and build our economy so that there's going to be sufficient volume to justify long-haul flights when we have the airport built.
Let's take a phone call. Hello.
Yeah, Matt, good morning.
My friend.
Good, my friend Sam Raphael. Matt, a couple of issues. Matt, I agree with the last caller because we have been postponing the building of an international airport for too long. And if 20 years ago we had started, or 10, 15 years ago we had started, it would have been completed by now, so that we'll be benefiting from it. So we can keep postponing it and make the same arguments every time that is not needed right now, and we have to put temporary measures in place. Not even temporary, because the measures that we are hearing about, they seem to be suggesting a form of permanence, permanent measures in place to create, to deal with the air access problem. Matt, we have also been hearing, we heard it from Mr. Yvonne Asif when he spoke with you, about scales. We do not have scale. We do not have economy of scale. Matt, what that simply means is that we have a serious problem of underpopulation in Dominica, as far as the local markets are concerned, and we also have a problem of attracting people into Dominica to fill our hotel rooms and to give us that foreign exchange dollar that we are seeking, Matt. And we need to figure out how we are addressing those problems. How are we going to build our population to have more people doing more business in Dominica? What we have seen over the years, and I do not know if Mr. Sam Raphael may want to comment or not, is that we are seeing, instead of government policies to build population, we are seeing government policies driven at running the population, making the people run away from Dominica. Matt, how many of your family members are living overseas and don't plan to come to live back in Dominica because of the amount of problems and concerns that they have been identifying? We're talking about attracting people to come into Dominica for vacationing, to set up business and that sort of thing. Mr. Sam Raphael knows about what we call a pest analysis. The pest analysis for Dominica right now is not favorable. The political situation is in array. The economic situation is very unstable. The social situation is declining. We have our technical concerns as well. So all these are factors that we have to consider when we're talking about trying to increase scales, create more volume, that sort of thing. We have to have people in the country. Without people, we cannot do business. And everything that is being done in this country is to run Dominicans from Dominica. Soon we will not have enough Dominicans to do the work required. We may have to be thinking seriously of importing Chinese or all those people who come with our passports. Mr. Sam Raphael, in conclusion, is talking about, do not know if the government has money to build international airport. Sam, you can do better than that for us. We've been hearing about the amount of money that the government has been making in the sale of our passport, diplomatic and otherwise. The amount of money, hundreds of millions unspent. Okay, so all of those funds can be put into the development of an international airport.
You think it should be a priority right now, Brian?
For sure, Matt. And it's a joke that we continue postponing it and playing politics with it, Matt. And that's what's happening there. We just keep postponing our development because probably we are in a position to get political favors and so on. We have to speak certain way or not speak certain ways and so on. And our development is at stake. And our population is being...
But of course, you heard some say that the international airport, if the money is available, build it. But realistically, Brian... we need to find the short-term solutions. And how do we deal with the issue of air access as we speak?
But Matt, listen to this. All what we have been saying in terms of getting ferries, contacting other airlines like Norwegian and so on, I am saying that these are good measures, Matt, but they must be seen as temporary measures. They must not be seen as permanent measures. And while we keep postponing the development of the international...
But Sam did not say postpone development. Sam said, well, if we have the money, build it, but it's going to take us some years. It's 9:29. Sam, you want to talk and speak to the issues that the caller raised?
Well, I think you clarified the point. He has a broader set of issues which I don't think relate to aviation, so I won't go there. But his suggestion, I think that what we're talking about is only a temporary measure and does not tie into, let's say, an international airport. I think that is incorrect, because if you're going to have a long-term plan, you must have a short-term and you must have a medium-term plan, and those three need to align. And if you're going to build an airport down the road, whether you decide to do it now or you decide 5 years down the road, it's not going to be open for another 10 plus years. You need to find a way to grow your economy until, and I mean, to me, that is logic. If the caller disagrees with that, I have to agree to disagree with him.
Okay, let's take another phone call here. Are you there, caller? Morning to you, yes.
Mr. Raphael.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Raphael, a question. Before you built Jungle Bay, you had any idea how many people you would have had you would be getting in your hotel?
Yes, go ahead, some answer.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I'm asking this question because one of the things that probably we don't look at is Dominica, the island Dominica, is in the center of the Caribbean. And it is just the perfect place for any transit to any of the other Caribbean islands. Mr. Raphael, if Dominica problem right now, why we are not getting a lot of tourism is because every other country, I mean, you go America and you go to any travel agent and you ask for Dominica, a lot of them don't know where Dominica is because we don't have an international airport. The international airport...
They don't know where Dominica is because we don't have an international airport, sir?
Yeah, Matt, because the international airport automatically gives Dominica airspace. Presently...
But you're saying two things at the same time, sir, because there are countries with international airport and their tourism may be dead and nothing is happening there. So I don't know if that is logic on your part to say, well, we don't have an international airport, so we're not getting any business. So you want to speak to that?
Well, I didn't know people traveled on an airport. They travel into an airport. You need to have flights. And if you have an international airport and you don't have rooms and you don't have a demand for flights, it's just going to be a white elephant. And we see that in certain islands in the Caribbean. We need the rooms. We need to build a tourism sector. As I pointed out, there are three things that will make for a successful tourism sector. One is you need a good product, and we do have, naturally, Dominica is a fantastic place. It's a, it has its the wellness and so on, but we need to have high standards in our tourism. The second thing is awareness, and the gentleman is correct, and there are many ways. Sir, if you want to take a look at a site, I can point you to a site. It's junglebaymedia.com. And I'd like the persons out there online to take a look. We have over 150 articles promoting the destination. I recognize as a hotel that is lacking. And every hotelier, everyone in the sector need to try to do what they can to promote. So the second point is we need to have recognition in the marketplace. One, good product, two, recognition. And the third, we must be able to get here, because no matter if the place looks good from far, you want to book it. And if it's too difficult to get there, if it's too expensive, or if you can't get there, then you're going to choose to go someplace. It's three. You have to simplify it, and those are the three things that we need to work on if we're going to have a more vibrant tourism sector. And we need to do things now, because we have hotels that need guests today. We have new hotels coming on stream. They need guests tomorrow, and we have a long-term economy build. And I'm just trying to break it down in a way to simplify things. And I would think that some of the callers may have. They're very emotional about this issue, and for a long time we've been very emotional, and someone has said, all you need is an internet, like someone can come with a magic wand and just wave it, and tomorrow there'll be an international airport and all our problems will go away. And that's you can say that, but if you really stop and in a more mature way analyze things, that's irrational. And I'm just here to talk about some potential solutions and the reality on the ground.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back, Dominica, right after this.
Breadfruit, fried breadfruit. I must just pass the breadfruit them round there. Cool kid, them some breadfruit make you covered, but them have a beer for catch up on ya. Ask them how I say it. You all get the breadfruit.
Dominica, it's coming. Reserve the date. Come to Marigot from November 3rd to 4th, 2016 for breadfruit and something breakfast fetch. It's on. It's 12 hours of fetting. Be there. Marigot Dominica, breadfruit and something breakfast fetch. It's on. Be there. This ad is sponsored by Country Style Bread and Q95 FM Radio.
You want breadfruit? Just tell me if you want breadfruit. You want breadfruit? Catch it down to them called breadfruit. Watch it down, roast or fry, roast or fry. Catch it down, roast or fry, breadfruit. You want breadfruit? Tell me if you want roast breadfruit.
Time to sleep, darling.
Dad, are there any monsters monsters under the bed?
Not while I'm here. You're safe and sound.
Feeling cared for, protected, and secure. It's a feeling that every Massey United Insurance customer knows. After all, they're in the same safe hands, protected by our financial strength, stability, and experience, and cared for by our team. Now, all our customers are even more secure with the sound strength of Massey. It's a great feeling. Massey United Insurance. To learn more, contact our agents, JB Charles and Company Limited at 448-2876, CAM Dupini Inc. at 448-3012, and LA Dupini and Company Limited at 448-2310.
The government of Dominica presents the 19th edition of the World Creole Music Festival. People all around the world come to feel the magic of this celebration. The music of all Creole nation. This don't say it be new. Come sing and dance with us. This don't say it be new. Come celebrate with us. Call 448-4833 or visit dominicafestivals.com.
Flow Creole in the Park, the ultimate Creole experience, October 24th to the 27th, 2016, Botanical Gardens.
This is how we flow.
If this hurricane coming, I'd better make sure I'm ready. I have my batteries and flashlight, water, tuna, sardines, and of course, Cricks, my vital supplies. Plus, with this new packaging, Cricks stays fresher for longer. So now I'm prepared for anything.
Cricks Vital Supplies.
If this hurricane coming, I'd better make sure I'm ready. I have my batteries and flashlight, water, tuna, sardines, and of course, Cricks, my vital supplies. Plus, with this new packaging, Cricks stays fresher for longer. So now I'm prepared for anything.
Cricks Vital Supplies.
The government of Dominica presents the 19th edition of the World Creole Music Festival. People all around the world come to feel the magic of this celebration. The music of all Creole nation. This don't say it be new. Come sing and dance with us. This don't say it be new. Come celebrate with us. For more information, call 448-4833 or visit dominicafestivals.com.
Okay, let's take another phone call here. Good morning. We have just about 20 minutes. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
I come in the name of righteous indignation.
Okay.
I'm asking Sam, what is his interest? Is to promote his small business so he wouldn't get big competition from the airlines that will land on international airlines.
Let me butt in here, because Sam did not say anything about he does not want an international airport. He did say that if the government has the money, build the international airport. We're talking short-term solution. But Sam, you can defend yourself. Mom, stay on the line.
But she is asking me what is my interest, and then she's injecting. It's amazing, huh? We have a beautiful island of Dominica. Interesting. Ma'am, I came here because I was invited to come to speak on aviation, because I'm involved in aviation. And as you know, this is not my first time in a radio studio. So if you're going to invite me to speak on something, I'm going to speak from my perspective as I see it. And I'm not here to represent the government. I'm not here to represent my own personal business, because my business really does not relate to this particular topic, and I thought I clarified that. So I just don't get it. And why do we have to cast aspersions on people's characters all the time and their motives? Why can't we have a conversation on information, on and then maybe make up our minds after. We seem to emotionally latch on to things. And if people say things that do not, align with the things that we've latched onto, then we have a problem with them. We really need to take a look at the mirror in the morning, sometimes. And man, I'm straight up, huh? This is me. I come here, I don't carry water for anybody. And I've spoken, I think, and if you can't challenge me on the points that I've raised, there's no need to really get to that level. Huh?
Let's continue. Yes, go ahead.
I challenging you not because it is fun, but because of what you were saying, because you were talking about breaking the bank to build an internet. And I'm sorry if I offend you because I know you well and I want you to be wealthy and happy. But I'm also trying to be objective because you were saying that as if you were discouraging the idea of I don't really care for an international airport because I like us to stay small and sweet. Because sometimes when you bring international business like an airport, it can corrupt the island. But we're looking at the interest of the people who really want to make money out of travel. And we're also looking at your interest too, and we want you to do well because eventually we want you to be part of the international, like planes, like you have big planes coming in too because you can grow. But what I was challenging you on is what you were actually saying. I didn't come to make trouble or talk about government because right now I don't even want to challenge government because I have children working with government and I don't want them to be victimized. That is to be honest and open. But we have to be able to have conversations in terms of the people's interest. And that is all I was trying to do. I wasn't trying to hit out at you. I might be emotional because I'm a woman and that's part of our drive. But I still have an idea of where some people might see that international, like bigger planes might be more useful for the development of the tourism product.
All right, caller, thank you very much. Let's continue here.
I would love to jump in a big plane and fly to Dominica every time I need to fly, but I have to deal with reality. And in reality is, as we started the conversation, we don't have the economy, we don't have the numbers to facilitate that. We don't have...
So what you mean, Sam, and I suspect some people may have taken that wrongly, what do you mean when you say that's a break the bank?
They are not... Well, in terms of the construction of the airport, or in terms of the construction of the airport, the government has a balance sheet. And if they can find through borrowing, through what they have, wherever, $1 billion, and if they can make it happen, I would support that because as a traveler, as someone in tourism, that would be a good thing. And I even said, I'm assuming, because based on the conversations that I've heard, I'm not privy to any internal conversations, but all sides of Dominica agree that an international airport, if they could build it, would be a good thing. But ma'am, my only point is, if the government decides to do that, and I'm not discouraging them in any way, don't take anything I say as a discouragement, is between now and the time that airport is operational, I need, for my hotel, I need to be able to provide easy access for my visitors as well as every other hotel in Dominica, as well as every other person trying to get to Dominica. That's my only motive. And we cannot just talk about the long term. It's easy to sit and, like a gentleman said, we've been talking 30 and 40, and we may talk 50 and 60 years, and we still haven't done anything about it. If you want to solve that problem, you start driving up your numbers. And the way in which we're going to do it is to have better connectivity. And when we start to do that, then we can provide economic justification for the international airport. But right now, I would say, for me, the next 10 years is the focus. Let us see how we can bring in some numbers, and maybe by then the international airport will be built, and then we can now justify jets flying. And that's, you know, that's where I stand. And I didn't mean to challenge you too hard, but it just gets sometimes always emotional. People, you know, have made the decision that the only solution is to wave a magic wand and an international airport will solve the problem. I'm not saying that we shouldn't build it. I'm just saying there's more to it than that.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, Matt.
Morning, yeah.
Matt, I just find right now, Matt, I think we need to chill a little. I'll tell you why, Matt. Matt, I was one of them that always wanted international airport, but when I listen to Sam Raphael Lisbon, I realized, well, it definitely have more to that. And what he saying that we need to grow our economy. Simple like. If we get an international airport service, God, we can't do anything much about it. But if what he's saying is just to grow. And that was so easy to understand. But I just feel that some of us, we so hyper because we really need it. And it's in pipeline for a long time. But we need to listen and don't attack people because they didn't say what they want. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning to you. Hello. Hello. I'm sorry I missed that. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Sam. A wonderful program. There are a few issues I'd like to bring up. The operating costs of an aircraft, depending on type and so, is a fixed cost. And whether you fly empty or full is going to cost you. So you need to fly full most of the time. In regards to the international airport, I don't think Dominica needs an international airport now. What we need is a jet airstrip. And even if we have that jet airstrip, there's no confirmation that these large aircraft will come in. Because the large aircrafts are not designed for short takeoff and landings, like the Liat planes. And I want to point out too, although St. Kitts, Antigua, St. Lucia, Barbados, and Grenada has international airports, they have to pay a cost to especially American Airlines every year just to fly in, because they would not fly in unless they get paid by the government to do that.
Caller, thank you very much. Somebody is suggesting here that 1 billion is equivalent to the sale of 5,000 passports. So it's realistic. That person is suggesting. Okay? Hello, talk to me here.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, yes.
Hold on for Mr. Parabella, please.
Hold on for Mr. Parabella. Okay, I'm holding on for Mr. Parabella. Yes.
Sam, still with you?
Yes, he's right here.
Yeah, let me congratulate him on his upcoming project. And I say so because anybody doing new projects in Dominica or any kind of project, they know from experience it's always very difficult. Sam was very successful in building a pretty good hotel, the old Jungle Bay. And when he, after Erica, to me, he rather quickly decided, boy, he's not going to repeat the thing in Dominica. He'll maybe try another country. I said, well, he really had it hard, and I can understand that. But I'm so glad to hear that he's back in Dominica, quite apart from the airline business, and going to build what we need. And in the south of the island, the government seems to be doing a lot in the north, but I'm glad he's taking care of the south of Dominica. And quite frankly, I'm also very happy that both he and the Prime Minister are putting aside...
But Parry, you seem to be going off a tangent here. We're talking aviation, though. You want to come back to that subject?
Okay, well, on aviation, Sam was a little... I caught how he was defending Liat. And what I like about Sam, he's a frank person, and he doesn't mind going against the popular opinion. He's talking the truth as he sees it. And I respect that, and I've always appreciated that from him. But quite frankly, I know it from several sources that Liat are not working as they should. There's a culture there that has developed very badly over the years. And as Sam knows from cultures, even in government and so on, when the thing is wrong, it tends to stay wrong and very often get worse. And quite frankly, I think some dramatic action is needed where Liat is concerned. So I'm a little different on his view on that. But as I say, I respect his view and wish him all his luck in the aviation thing and in the hotel project.
Thank you very much. Of course, we'll be talking to Sam on his hotel development in the near future. He's a very busy guy, so I'm trying to hold him down on one issue at a time. Let's just take a phone call. Hello.
Good morning, Matt. How are you?
How you doing?
And good morning to Sam Raphael Isaac Baptiste here.
Yes.
Yeah. Matt, listening to Sam Raphael, I think you have one of the most qualified person to speak to air access relative to hotel development and expansion of the tourism industry, in particular in Dominica. I think it's and Sam's position is also consistent with that of the United Workers' Party as far as the development of an international airport, in the sense that you should not stop working towards construction of an international airport in terms of finding the funding, etc. The site is already identified, the study is done. It's a matter of identifying the funding. But I do agree with Sam Raphael that you need stopgap measures, because government has invested, I think they're well over $200 million at Melville Hall. And in that respect, if you are to develop the tourism industry, you must find more effective ways to improve air access. I recall about two sessions ago, I mentioned in the House of Assembly exactly what Sam is saying, that the fact that we need a Dominica-based airline, recognizing that we have 9 international airports, 8 south, I think, and 9 north of Dominica. And what you need is either what he referred to it as shuttle service, I refer to it as express service between these airports to Dominica, so that you can improve and provide better air access into the country. And the way he has suggested to be approached is the right way. And when I mentioned in the House of Assembly, the Attorney General tried to make fun out of me. Oh, Dominica-based airline. You must do that, because you cannot depend on Riyadh. Riyadh has too many islands to serve, and you cannot serve the needs of Dominica only. In fact, if you are able to develop properly a Dominica-based airline providing direct air service, non-stop service between Dominica and some of the international airports north and south of Dominica, Riyadh might find that they might want to use Dominica as a base in terms of their operations. So he's right on target. I also believe that my question to him now would be, would you, Sam, consider, for example, should government approach you and Coastal Air, where you already have established routes, etc., would you all consider, for example, negotiating these two airlines, combining together with government and the private and the private sector, setting up a public company, and where we can now have an airline providing exactly the type of service that you're providing? Because the airlines, the airport, the hotels, they benefit a lot, and even the farmers, because what you can do is that if that same airline service can provide, very quick service between Dominica in terms of you want to export some couple boxes of flowers, etc., to other destinations, and exactly what we need to do. So therefore, I think he's on the right track. I think the amount of money government has put into Melville Hall, that they need to recover it, we need to improve air access, and I think that is the way we have to.
So you're saying they should have a combination, that government should approach SAM and of course the other partner there from St. Croix to establish the very airline that you're talking about?
And possibly making it a public company. I would like to hear Sam's comment on that.
Sam, that's a great question. Yeah?
And sir, I don't mean to run from my responsibility as a Dominican. I would do whatever I could to support, but I've just got too much on my plate, and I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to over-promise that I can be sort of the developer of this project when I've got Jungle Bay. That's my priority, and I'm trying to really, take some things off of my hand and focus on that. I've got a hotel to build in the south. It's a pretty big deal. I have a number of people to employ, and I have to do it right. So I also have an airline as it is right now. It's a U.S. Virgin Islands.
You're not run away though, Sam.
Well, and he's right. We cannot run away from our responsibility, because if I have know-how in an area, I think I'm morally obligated to share if the government were to approach me, or even if whoever was to approach me in Dominica's interest. But I don't see myself playing a role as
in terms of the leadership.
In terms of the leadership of that, I cannot take that on as a responsibility. But thanks for the vote of confidence, sir.
Let's take a phone call there. Hello.
Good morning, Matt.
How you doing?
I'm all right. Sam,
Good.
how you doing, man?
Good. Who's that, Afi?
That's I recognize the voice of Mr. Frederick Barron. Am I right, sir?
Yeah. Sam, I saw you in your long sleeve white shirt driving into town this morning. I realized you were up for a big challenge.
Let me clarify. I wore my long sleeve because, unfortunately, my family, we had my niece, my cousin. She's young. Her funeral is this afternoon from Bellevue. So. And so that's why I didn't wear the.
Okay. Well, Sam, that has been one of my very, how should I say it, important considerations with regards to improving access for Dominica. And I accept and understand your suggestion that even while we look towards building the international airport, there are things that we can do now. And I remember engaging the former governor of the central bank in Grenada, and I think he had a son who was a pilot who is now an economist. And in the discussions with him, he told me, Frederick, we were discussing because it has always been my passion that we need to improve air access, and airline is one of the ways. And he said to me, Baron, I think based on the discussions I've had with my son, who was a pilot and he's an economist now, and my own experience, I think the only way we can have a successful airline in the region is to have it based specifically on the needs of the country. And that is why I have been, and I actually have done, I've done about 9, maybe 10 or 11 years of research into the airline industry and how we can go about doing it. And I've come up with a very detailed business plan that considers all of those issues that have to be taken on board. And Sam has come up with a model that works, but his model is based in the Virgin Islands. And for Dominica to have one that is successful and responds to its needs, it has to be based in Dominica and focus exclusively on the needs of Dominica. It will make it much easier, and I mean, I've listened to Sam and the ideas are there. It will make it much easier to get to Barbados for the U.S. Embassy visit, leave in Dominica at 6 o'clock in the morning, and leave in Barbados at 5 in the afternoon, getting back to Dominica at 6 o'clock. You know, I mean, these are the needs, and if you could share with some of those airlines you can get, you can get into Antigua, and you don't have to depend on Liat because you'll have a Dominica-based airline waiting. You don't even have to go through customs and immigration from Europe or wherever you're coming in. You could share, you go straight into that Dominica-based airline, and you're into Dominica within 20, 25 minutes. And we cannot beat around the bush. Yes, we can have an international, and I heard Ninja making the point that we are like in the center of the Caribbean islands. And it would be ideal if we have that international airport that could be the hub, etc., etc. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for those things to happen, we cannot just fall asleep. And some put it nicely, we only have 200 people coming into Dominica now. We know there are 200,000 wanting to come. But they will not make that commitment until they are certain that they come into Dominica will be an event that takes them maybe what it takes them to get to other countries. Maybe half a day, but not 2 or 3 days trying to find yourself. And then Liat decides that they want to keep you in Antigua for a couple of days so the Antiguan government and people can make money, and you don't know when you're coming into Dominica and all that kind of thing. So Sam, keep preaching the word. I hope people listen, and the government, the authorities who are to take the decisions, take the decisions. We wasted $8 million in Liat for crap. Anyway, have a good day.
Have a good day. We'll come back. I'll extend Sam for a few extra minutes here this morning, of course, to, if you want to synchronize some of the points that he has made. Let's take a phone call and we'll get to the news. Hello.
Yeah, hello, morning.
Morning to you, yes.
Okay. I think it's very important to have professionals who can come on and speak to these issues, primarily because in a highly political society, when a professional comes on, it kind of divorces it from the politics. What I notice about what Mr. Raphael has been saying is that if we look at the history of this conversation over the past 2 or 3 years, in terms of a Dominica-based airline and an express service, we would see that he's almost mirroring what Mr. Linton has been pushing. But obviously, Mr. Linton, as a politician, he's coming from that standpoint, and a lot of people will just be blind to it because they figure that's not their politics. But I'm listening to Mr. Raphael right now, and as I said, if you look at the history over the past 3 years, the conversation almost mirrors what Mr. Linton has been calling for, and it makes a lot of sense. I'm very happy to hear this conversation this morning.
Well, thank you very much. We're stopping for the news. When we come back, we'll kind of wrap it up here